Hey YouTube, Foriknar here. I was going to jump right into the video, but I thought I'd give myself a bit of an introduction before we got started. I'm Foriknar, your fantastic, with that sort of tone in mind, host, and I make videos for my passion and the fun of it and just to grow in the community. I don't expect success, I just want to have fun, and yeah. The quality won't be great in these videos to start, the equipment's not decked out, but I'll give it my best shot and teach you what you want to know about different decks, or the Pokemon League, or anything really. I'm always welcome for advice on content, and yeah. Today I'll be walking you through the Charizard EX League Battle deck, and not only how you can play it, but how you can upgrade it, and general Charizard bits, where you can get resources, and how you can play it. Although I suppose how you can play it out the box and how you play it upgraded should be differentiated. Different. We'll start with the unboxing itself, then my massive air quotes here, masterclass. I can move on to showing you the flow of the deck and maybe even squeeze in some time to play a few games, though that's not guaranteed. Now then, you're about to hear another intro, because I was going to jump right into the video, but yeah, here we go. Do you want to learn how to play the Pokemon TCG? Or do you want to learn how to go from your basic starter decks that don't do well to a higher level and go to something stronger? Maybe you want to play in a tournament or two, or maybe you just want some free credits for TCG Online, which I would say buy crystals for, but if you're going to buy the deck anyway, you might as well get something out of it online. Either way, no matter what, I have the product for you. I'm Foriknar, and I should just state that I'm not sponsored by the Pokemon Company to do this. I'm not asked to by them. I'm not doing this because other people do it. I'm doing it because I want to teach you. I want to teach you that the Pokemon card game's fun. I want to teach you how to play your favourite decks, or just how to turn a product like this into something you might be able to someday top a locals. And it's all just my passion. And so I've been making videos for years now. Well, no I haven't. I've been making them at the start when I first could, and then gave up because I didn't really want to, but this is my passion, and this is what I want to teach you all. So, let's get into it, shall we? Inside, there are 6 foil cards, 6 damage dice, 1 coin flip die, 2 condition markers, and a deck box. And if you can see this bit flopping up, I may have unboxed it already, and the may have been some technical difficulties. Either way, let's get in properly. Inside, you get the main box, which we'll cover in a second, your condition markers, your burn and poison, which are fantastic when you've got decks like poison and claw and all those stuff you're coming up against. You've got this insert talking about what the deck itself does, what is important to the deck, like your Pidgeotto EX and your Prime Catcher. And then on the back, it has upgrades. Except it doesn't have upgrades, because that's another Charizard and that's a Defiance band. And the most I see people running Charizard is going to be 3, so don't think you need to follow this, because there are better places. Now, empty box for anyone who cares. Inside, in the totally stacked properly and not at all taped to, you get 6 foil cards. You open it in this little back bit here. And the 6 foil cards consist of 3 Charizard, 2 Pidgeotto EX, which is your main searcher for the deck, and a Prime Catcher, arguably the best card in the entire deck. It goes into so many decks, and it's just so helpful. Now, you get this little carry case, which you open at the bottom here, pull the tab, and or most people just use a deck box or something, or a dedicated case. It's nice to start. And what does this hold? This actually holds these. Now, these are your damage dice and your rolling dice, or your coin flip die. The coin flip die is clear and effective because it's clear, you know there's no tampering and you're not going to have any rigged dice roll. For example, a 4, which rolled just off screen, or again rolling just off screen, another 4, which is not proving my point, and it's just rolled again and we got a 3. So, you know it's not supposed to land on any specific side. These are your damage dice. These, for anyone who doesn't know, will count the amount of damage you have. So 70 or 90 or just generic 10s or 100s. And these basically let you keep track of damage. So if you're hit by an effect that might put you onto 220, you can use one of these and then you'll be able to find another one. And yeah, just that will keep track of how much damage your Pokemon has. You keep it on your bench or your attacker. Wherever the Pokemon is, your damage dice will go with it. You get the deck itself, the 6 cards, and perfectly put into frame, I'm sure. I don't know if you can tell, but it's my first time doing this in a while. And your code card. I mean, you can scan it if you want, but it's already been used because I want more gems. Now, for your foils, I've already said, but 3 Charizard EX. Now, you have Infernal Rain, your ability, which allows you to put 3 basic fire energy and attach them to your Pokemon in any way you like when it's put from hand to evolve. So it won't work with a card like the Grand Tree, but it will work with the rare candies. Burning Darkness, 2 fire energy, and it does 180, and then it does more for every prize card your opponent's taken. Pidgeot EX, which I'll just put down here. It has the quick search ability to allow you to put anything you want from deck to hand once per turn, and you can only use it once per turn, so even if you had 2 Pidgeot, you're going to have only 1 quick search. And then Prime Catcher. This is like a boss's orders and a switch all in one as an item. And this is your race spec, you can only have 1. Switch in one of your opponent's benched Pokemon to the active spot. If you do, switch your active Pokemon with one of your benched Pokemon. So that can get you an attacker out and force your opponent to bring out something they might not want at the time. And then you can immediately knock it out. Inside the deck, here's your deck box, which you immediately get rid of. And here it is ordered. Now, it won't be perfectly ordered because mine didn't, but we're on take 2. So, 3 Charmeleon, which you don't really use. It might be a one of, but honestly, you just keep it there because it's a starter deck. You might be able to replace those with Duskull and Dusknoir, for example, which I'll be telling you about after a masterclass. Or, I suppose I'm not a master, but Charmander, 4 Charmander. Now that's your little basic. That's exactly what you want to evolve into Charizard from. 2 Pidgeotto. These don't get run at all, really. You, again, just here for a starter deck. What you want is 3 Pidgey, because these let you evolve from Pidgey to Pidgeot with a rare candy, which you can get off Arven, and it's just 50 HP, searchable off Buddy Poppin'. It's just so good for the deck. I mean it. Pidgey is such a nice search engine in any deck, really. Even if you might not want the Charizard itself, you can still get Prime Catcher and Pidgey and so many things, which I know you can't see. But Moltres, it has no fire energy to if it has a fire energy attached, it has no retreat cost, sorry. And you can attack for 3 energy, and it's sort of like Radiant Greninja, but for 3 fire energy and does 120 damage. And you need to specifically discard fire energy. But it's there for the starter deck. It's not really run, but now we're going to get into the trainers. 4 Buddy Poppin'. If Prime Catcher wasn't included, this would probably be the best card in the deck. Usable in so many decks as well. It's just that generic. You can use it in Chi and Pow. You can use it in Gardevoir. You can use it in other evolution decks like Dragapult. And it's just searching for 2 basic Pokemon with 70 HP or less and putting them onto your bench. 4 Ultra Ball for discarding 2 cards. You can add any Pokemon, so if you had some extra bulk, like a Moltres and a Pidgeotto, you could discard them and add a Charizard to your hand, for example. And that's just a good consistency tool overall. We like consistency. That's why we like decks, because they're good and they're consistent. That's what makes a meta deck. Rare Candy. Choose one of your basic Pokemon in play. If you have a Stage 2 card in your hand that evolves from that Pokemon, put that card onto the basic Pokemon and evolve it, skipping the Stage 1. You can't use it during the first turn, or the turn the basic Pokemon was put into play this turn, but you can use it to go straight from Pidgey to Pidgeot, and then immediately grab something else. If you had a Pidgeot on board, you could search for anything you wanted. So if you take your Pidgey, Rare Candy it, and immediately the next turn go into Pidgeot, you don't need to waste another turn with Pidgeotto. And that just makes it good for getting it faster. Your Pidgey, you can do it multiple times, you can do it with Charmander. And yeah, Rare Candy, another fantastic addition to the deck, even if you don't use it for this deck. Again, you can use it for Gardevoir, you can use it for Dragapult, you can use it in a lot of places. It's good, it's generic, and that can make a good card. Super Rod, usable in a lot of stuff. Ancient Box, Charizard, Gardevoir, and you can shuffle 3 combination of Pokemon and basic energy. So you can send 2 Fire Energy and a Charizard, and if you put them all back with it, you can immediately go into Charizard with a Charmander and a Rare Candy, for example, once you get the Charizard back with an Ultra Ball, maybe, and immediately know you have 2 energy to go into the deck. And you'll be able to attack with Charizard that turn, as long as you have it on the active as well. And so, yeah, Super Rod, putting your Pokemon back, putting your energies back, it's very nice. 1 switch. Switch your active Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. If your Charizard wasn't inactive, you could switch it up with whatever's in bench. So Pidgeot, while Pidgeot can manually retreat for nothing, we'll use it as an example. Switch in the Charizard that you might have just put down after your Super Rod. And yeah, it's an ease of access tool. Some decks, like Ancient Box, will use Latias, some will use Petrarunt, but honestly, Switch is fine for a League Battle deck. It's not going to be perfect, but it will do good. One of the best hand disruptors for Iono, while it may not be the best because you have cards like Fez and Liberty, Iono can still put your opponent down to low cards in hand, giving them less options. So if you do it while they have 1 or 2 prizes, they'll only have 1 or 2 cards in hand. Each player shuffles their hand and puts it on the bottom of their deck, so you and your opponent do this, and you draw a card for each prize card. So if you top deck it while you have nothing in hand, you can play it, and then immediately draw, so however many cards you have in hand, we'll say 3 more Iono, but it gives you that option, and it can give you more resources, or deprive your opponent of resources. And that can just play better. 2 Boss's Orders. It's Prime Catcher, but for, I suppose, a supporter, so it can be searched with Poker Gear if you ever add any. And it can't be hit by a card like Pokestop because it's not an item. And you can only play 1 per turn. But you switch in one of your opponent's bench Pokemon to the active spot. So no, you don't switch your own Pokemon in, only your opponent's. And it's a good 1 or 2 of, and it's been one for a while now. Arven. Search your deck for an item card and a Pokemon tool. So you could search for your Rare Candy. You could search your Buddy Poffins. You could search Prime Catcher. And yeah, that's what Arven can do. You search your items, and you search the Pokemon tools, which I will show you soon, and just add anything you want once per turn for your supporter. very good for consistency. 2 of is very good. 4 of can also be good, but yeah. Professor Sarda's Vitality. You'd think that's this card, but it's not. It's Professor's Research. Discard your hand and draw 7 cards. It can fill up your hand or get cards you need in discard. And yeah, maybe if you know you're going to be able to get Super Rod soon, and you're that confident, you put energies into the discard so that you can keep them safe instead of being Ionoed. 2 Artisan. It's a stadium, which is very good if you need to, I don't know, keep it there. Ditch an Area 0 Underdepths or a Pokestop. And you can search out any Pokemon without a rule box. That could be your Charmanders, your Pidgeys, your Dusclops, or, well, it's Duskull, isn't it? Search your Duskulls and put them onto bench. And while we don't play Duskulls in this deck, we can play them in Charizard EX when we upgrade them, which I'll, again, tell you about soon, later in the video. Now, onto the Pokemon tools. 1 Defiance Band. If you have more prize cards remaining than your opponent, the attacks of the Pokemon this card is attached to do 30 more damage. So let's say you wanted to hit Raging Bolt is 240, I believe. You could take your base Charizard. It will do 30 more for each prize. So we'll say they've taken 1 prize and we've taken none. We will then add 30 because of Charizard's effect to do 210. Defiance Band. We're on more prizes, so we don't get a bonus. Or, well, we don't get a bonus from prizes, but we do get a bonus from that. Doing an extra 30, going for the kill. There's also 2 Technical Machine Evolution, which means for 1 energy, you can choose 2 of your benched Pokemon. Maybe you have Charmander, Pidgey, and a Charmander in play. You can attach Technical Machine Evolution. If I could pick it up, you can attach a Fire Energy. Then for Evolution, target the Charmander, target the Pidgey, and evolve them into Pidgeotto and Charmeleon. And yeah, sit on the board, it's discarded at the end of the turn. You're going to see a lot of these slip-ups. It's just how I've got my camera set up. I haven't got a clamp yet, but I'm working on this for you guys, for the passion, for everything I think I can make, and everything I want to make. 4 energies, 4 energies, 2 energies, 10 energies. You'll see a lot of these slip-ups I think I just said, but yeah, 10 energies. You only really run 5 or 6, but for the starter deck, again, attaching more energies, maybe to a Moltres inactive, and you attach 3 on 1, or attaching 2 to a Charizard, 1 to a Charmander, and then evolving another Charizard, 2 to a Pidgeot, for example. Very nice. It's very nice to have some energies, especially because you need energies to attack. Now, I don't know if I'll redo this. Again, take 3, hopefully not. Technical difficulties, but there's the deck. Now, I'm going to sleeve this up, and then you can stick around for the masterclass, going over how you might play it, how you might upgrade the deck, and just what you can do with it. I'm Torbar, and this is a cut. Up, how to play. Why play Charizard EX first off? I suppose you have easy access to it with the starter deck on TCG Live, and you have it as the League Battle deck. It's good in the meta, currently being the 2nd most popular deck on Limitless TCG. It's easy to understand and can be linear, but can still be skillful with all of your Dusknoirs, Dragapults, Pidgeots, and everything you grab off of it. Charizard's the 2nd mascot of the Pokemon card game, and the Pokemon brand in general. and so it's a very popular Pokemon, and will often be pushed to the front, and you'll see a lot of it, so you can get a lot of advice. It gets stronger the more the game goes on, because the more prizes your opponents take, means Charizard powers itself up more. It also has good energy acceleration due to its ability. However, it used to be very generic and straightforward, often being called skillless, and it's having changed as of late, dropping off a bit in popularity, but coming back into popularity as we're getting into the Surging Sparks format, and there are different variations, including Charizard Pidgeot, Charizard Pidgeot and Dusknoir, Charizard Dragapult, and many more. You want to start with TCG Live, the online game. It won't walk you through the steps, but it'll be able to help you, as you will see how much damage you're doing easily. Your cards automatically can be brought up to the screen and you can see how they work, and it will make sure you don't make any mistakes, and you can't misplay. Well, you can't make false plays, I should say. Upgrades are easy to craft, because you can easily get your Phesandipities for low crystals by buying the League Battle deck again. And the League Battle deck itself has the core engine and meta-defining cards such as Charizard, Pidgeot and Prime Catcher. Upgrades can be cheap depending on what you look at, whether it be the couple of pounds and dollars Dragapults, or your Phesandipities, and anything you really need can be easily got. It's also tournament ready, and while you certainly might not be topping a regionals with it, you certainly have the baseline. And that means you can easily upgrade it, and maybe you even can if you're someone who already knows how to play the card game and are looking for a new deck. Or you can go to your locals and do quite well if you're a new player. The deck itself focuses on the primary attacker Charizard EX. There's not much variation in attackers, unless you need to get rid of a stadium, or you're running Dragapult, though there are some, such as Radiant Charizard. There are late game pivots like Radiant Charizard, but overall you're primarily attacking with your Charizard EX. It's easy to set up, with Rare Candy meaning you can set it up on turn 2, and its ability letting you attack on turn 2, and it not only accelerates energy to itself, but to other Pokemon as well. You could give one to Dragapult, or give 2 to Pidgeot, or just set up on other Charmanders for later. Charizard itself adds 3 energy when it's added to field from hand specifically. You can't do it with something like the new A-Spec Grand Tree, but you can do it with Rare Candies or other cards like Manual Evolution, or anything specifically from hand to Charizard. It attacks for 180 damage, and then for every prize card your opponent has taken, does 30 more. And you can even add more if you're behind on prizes with cards like Defiance Band. Getting into the supporting cards, we have Pidgeot EX, one of the most valuable search engines for Stage 2 decks, because it can easily, and I mean this very easily, search out anything you want, as long as it's in deck, as long as you can get it onto field. And considering Rare Candy is a 4 of in most decks, I would say Pidgeot EX is quite good. Rare Candy itself, as I said, is a 4 of. It's a fantastic trainer. You can search it off Arven or Pokestop if you need to do that with your opponent's Pokestop, or maybe there's something to be done with Pokestop itself in a Charizard deck. It's generic, searchable, and speeds up the deck, meaning it's consistent, and keeps the deck consistent. As I just mentioned, Arven, it's a supporter, which you can only use once per turn, but allows you to add any item, whether it be a Rare Candy, or Prime Catcher, or Buddy Poffin, maybe even a Terra Orb, to get your cards onto the field. Maybe you can also add tools, because you can add an item card and a tool. You could search Forest Sealstones, or Defiance Bands, or if you have some sort of TM evolution, maybe you do get that as well. Now, Prime Catcher is a very good supporting card, but can be replaced. It's not universal, but an ace spec you can only have one per deck, and Prime Catcher fills that spot very well. You can search it off Arvin, it acts as a boss's orders, and a switch, all in one. So you can easily go from maybe a Radiant Charizard into a Charizard EX, or Charizard into Pidgeot, then retreat if you just need to swap out your opponent's Pokemon. This next section, we'll talk about the 2025 rotation, which, while not for another few months, in March or April, is good to plan for. So I will be talking about your supporting Dusknoirs, or Dragapult, or anything that will survive the rotation. Dusknoir itself is actually a very popular choice at the moment, because you can easily use the Stage 2 engine of rare candies to get it up to the Dusknoir, and then immediately go 13 damage counters, which might snipe something off your opponent's bench, maybe a Radiant Greninja, or one of their basics that they need to evolve. Or the Duskull and Dusknoirs could be used to just power up your Charizard's attack, maybe even giving them a prize to power it up even more. It can be seen as a way to hit that last bit of damage to a Pokemon on bench or active, and gives you prizes after a bit as well. Dragapult EX is something I personally love to play. It can be helped by Rare Candy, does 200 to your opponent's active Pokemon, then puts 6 damage on your opponent's bench in any way you like. Maybe you want to put 4 on a Raging Bolt, 1 on a Teal Maskogapon, and another 1 on a Teal Maskogapon. Meaning no matter what they switch in, if it's just those 3 on the bench, you can hit it for 200. Terra Orb can search out your Dragapults, or your Charizards, or both, depending on what situation you need, but it can only add 1. You search your deck for a Terra Pokemon, put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. Again, as an item, it's searchable off of Arvin, and it's simple and effective as a 1-of or 2-of. Professor Turo's Scenario you think you might use for some of your supporting Pokemon, like Fezandipiti or Lumineon V, but it's actually primarily used to pick up your damaged attackers. If you have a Charizard and it's nearly about to die, but you have a Charmander on bench and a Pidgeot maybe, you can return the Charizard to hand, put in the Charmander, and then search for a Rare Candy off Pidgeot, letting you go straight back into a Charizard that's not about to die. It's a great looper to loop your cards back and reset. Counter Catcher, if you're going to go on behind on prizes for either Dusknoir or so that you can power up a Charizard, it can help you. It's like Prime Catcher, but different, because you can just hit it whenever. Instead of needing it once, you can run 2 or 3. Would I recommend it? Maybe not, but you can, and it's helpful. Next, I'll be talking about the current rotation. This section can be completely skipped if you're not planning to use F-block cards before they rotate, or after rotation has happened. But if you do, here we are. A lot of your V Pokemon are setup cards, including Rotom or Lumineon. You never attack with them, but Instant Charge on Rotom is usable even on your first turn, meaning if you can't attack, maybe you don't have any attackers even if you went second, Rotom can draw you card advantage. It's also usable with V-specific cards such as Forest Sealstone, not Fierist Steelstone, which can add anything you want. Lumineon V is not a Pokemon you would want to bench at the start, because it only activates when you send it from your hand to your bench. Luminous Sign allows you to grab any supporter, whether you need a boss's order, or you need to go into Arvin or Iono. Whatever you need, it can search it out when put from hand to bench. And if you do go into Arvin, immediately go Arvin to Forest Sealstone. Attach it to your Lumineon, and when Forest Sealstone is activated, you can use the V-Star power, and that will allow you to do something similar to Pidgeot, except just once per game, in which you add any card to hand, whether it be a Charizard or a Terra Orb for deck thinning. Maybe you need that last rare candy. Whatever you need, Forest Sealstone can add. Radiant Charizard is one of our better attackers. It does double damage to grass types, in case you're playing against Hydrapple or Ogerpons, though Ogerpon itself usually isn't a problem, and you can even deal with it with Charizard EX. Radiant Charizard attacks for 1 less colourless energy for each prize card your opponent has taken, so once they're down to 2 prize cards, all you need is a fire energy. However, it can't use its attack in 2 consecutive turns. Thornton allows an evolution on the turn a card is placed by placing a basic in play from your discard pile. Maybe you want to get rid of a Lumineon or Radiant Charizard and replace it with a Pokemon that you can immediately evolve into. By using Thornton, you can transfer everything over, including the turn it was placed, meaning you can immediately rare candy to your Dragapults or your Charizards, or maybe you have another Dusknoir you want to use. I believe these are the last 2 items. Lost Vacuum. It removes tools and stadiums, maybe Neutralization Zone or Jamming Tower. If you need to get rid of it, Lost Vacuum, by putting a card from your hand to the Lost Zone, will do the same to that item. Maybe you don't want to immediately use it against Lost Box, for example, but it's pretty good in general. Lost Vacuum is a very good card as a one-of. Cancelling Clone is similar. If you're playing against an Iron Thorns or a Fluttermane, maybe you want to be able to use your abilities. And in that case, you want to use Cancelling Cologne and try to get up as much setup as possible. It has a simple purpose, and stop your decks from fizzling out. We will always miss Cancelling Cologne, unless you're a Thorns player. In this section, I will go over 4 randomly rolled matchups. Why did I choose 4 matchups, and why am I going over how you can counter them? It's simple. I don't think I could go over all 37 hard decks. If we go to Limitless TCG and go here, which I'll teach you about soon, complete deck ranking. There are, without going into variants, 27 decks. I don't think I can go over all of them. I don't think I want to go over a majority of them. I think you want to learn each matchup depending on what's close to you. Maybe you only plan to go to locals, in which case, learn what your locals have. Try to beat that first. Or maybe at a regional, in which case, you need to do much more than just learn every matchup. You need to practice every matchup. In that case, I think you should also learn what an insider's point of view, someone who's not actually been on the outside and looked at the deck, but someone who's going immediately into it. And you can practice that way. I will, however, go through 4 randomly rolled matchups, and we'll see how well it does. 35 decks, including the variants. I think you can see why we don't exactly go through all of them. Your deck isn't perfect, and it's important to remember that. It's why you don't get taught every tech, for example, Fezandipity. There's always going to be something to be improved or worked around. You'll learn more about the deck and how its matchups go the more you play. In fact, you should learn to play a variety of decks, in my opinion. Do you really just want to be stuck playing Charizard online? Or do you want to play Chien Pao, maybe? Or Ancient Box? Maybe you want to get that Roaring Moon practice in. And you want to know how they compare and how they play to other decks. Any advice specific to rotation, which shouldn't be much, that is current to the time that this was published is in red and can be outdated. Raging Bolt. Let them knock out a one-prizer. That's probably the best advice I could personally give for very early game, because it immediately puts you up to 210. And then you can add a Defiance Band or knock out the Ogerpons early, and you can try to remove or negate tools to make sure Their booster energy capsules, don't put them over. Once they start taking more prizes, go to knock out the Raging Bolts quicker. That's the main attacker. Though, Teal Mask Ogrephon can also be a problem because of our weakness. As long as you can deal with it effectively, you should have an alright matchup. It's not perfect, but it's good. Once Radiant Charizard is live, you should be able to use it to knock out your Raging Bolt, or anything really, without having to worry about the 2-prizer that is Charizard EX. The Ace spec you play can change a lot in this matchup. Unfair Stamp can leave them with less resources. Hero's Cape can try to stop an Oko. And Prime Catcher. Prime Catcher can get you what you need and what you need in. When Radiant Charizard is live, it can deal with Raging Bolt setup, yeah. Miraidon EX is outbulked by Zard, I think, and can typically rush towards Iron Hands EX to try and get those quick prizes, maybe knocking out a Lumineon for 3. Try to keep support like Lumineon off the board until you can get rid of it, maybe by lowering bench size with an Artisan. Maybe you need to get rid of it with a Collapsed Stadium. Whatever it does, make sure you can get rid of your support before it can abuse that, especially without you very much adding an extra prize. Try to take advantage of the stadiums and even their setup. Getting rid of Pokemon with energy on could leave the setup with more to do, because if I knock out the Miraidon with energy, and there's a Miraidon with no energy, they can't attack with that without having to go through for another electric generator. Dragapult EX is an interesting matchup, because it can damage the bench, and a lot of your setup will be cards like Pidgey or Charmander that can get near knocked out. In fact, Pidgey can get knocked out. Dreepy and Charmander, well, if you take your 50 HP Pidgey and your 10 HP and put it onto one of them, well then, they're immediately in knockout range and a risk. Try to use cards like Thornton to not need them immediately on bench, and you can instead set up a turn later, or get Lost Vacuum to get rid of possible Sparkling Crystals. It's a difficult matchup, and you need to know exactly where to choke the deck with a choke point, but hopefully you should be able to beat it once you get some experience. Dusknoir, or even Dusclops, can realistically deal with their Dratcloaks and their Dreepies. But you do need to know the reliance on the bench can be sniped by Dusknoir or Dragapults from their side and your side. Lastly, we have Ancient Box. Ancient Box is difficult due to the prize trade being 1 for 2. Most Ancient Box decks focus on knocking out support or Charizard in 2 turns, with Okos coming later in the game. However, with Surging Sparks, I've seen an increase in Turbo Ancients to discard and then use damage boosters such as Cobalion or the new Stadium that gives Stage 2 Pokemon minus 30 HP. Ancient Box doesn't run any Stage 2 Pokemon, so it doesn't get minus 30 HP and doesn't lose from this. I would say, as an Ancient Box player myself, try to deal with the Roaring Moons early to lower the amount of damage that Koraidon can do from 180 to 30, and then, well, you can still attack with the other Ancients, but Roaring Moon as their main attacker is something you can deal with quite early on. Get rid of the Stadium, such as Pokestop, or tools that can lower the amount of traction the deck can get, or output the deck has with the Roaring Moon. The more tools in Lost Zone, the less in their discard. Here we have Limitless TCG, and the percentages of cards used in the deck. For example, you use Fire Energy 95% of the time, but only 5% of the time do you use 6 Energy. Forest Sealstone, 95%, because you often run Rotons and Lumineons. And that's around, in fact that is exactly the same percentage-wise, which means they're likely all in the same deck. Charizard itself is a 2 of in 97% of decks, and 8% of decks run 3. However, if you're just starting with Charizard, running 3 is not only a fine amount, but allows you to recover your resources easier. Dusk Noir, as I said, is a popular choice, far more popular than Dragapult, which hasn't even existed in this little list. And yeah, 97%. I think you can see why it's so popular. Buddy Buddies, 3 in 95% of the time. Rare candies, 100% of the lists include 4 of them. Arvens, 2 of in 91. Iono, 2 in 100%. And this basically tells you what you want to know about the Charizard deck. You can see popular lists, such as 9th place from Sacramento, the most recent regional, yes, as of recording. You got 9th, 11th, 18th, 33rd. The list goes on. And I believe it also got first at the senior and junior level. That it did. First and 7th in seniors. First, 2nd, 6th, and 7th in juniors. Whatever there is to say about Charizard, it is a good deck. It is a fun deck. And it is a deck I think you can have fun. Now, hopefully I'll be able to angle it right properly this time. And why don't we get into some starting hands? I think that's the best way for me to teach you how you might set up with Charizard. Right, here we are. The Charizard EX League Battle deck in play.limitless.tcg. This will basically be the playtesting portion. I will teach you how to start off your turns. I won't teach you the full games because I'm not playing full games. If I did, I'd probably go onto TCG Live or something, but recording on there is a bit of a pain. So, we're going to start with here, and I'm going to teach you some test hands. With this segment, the last segment, I think, I can improve on this on later episodes of, if I call this a series or something, but in later videos, I can record on... I know words. I can improve on this and do better. But for now, this is what we'll start with. So, we will go through the Charizard EX League Battle deck, Charizard Dragapult, Charizard Dusk Noir, and a technically legal for post-rotation, doesn't mean it'll be good, but a theoretical deck that's legal for post-rotation in 2025. Now, it is alright, but, you know, it won't, new cards will come out, is what I mean. So, we'll start here. Heads first, tails second. We'll go heads. New game. 0 mulligans. We're going first, I suppose, so draw 1. This deck primarily wants to go second. We can buddy and grab Pidgey Charmander. We can see prizes here, but that's just to make it easier to record this. You have to deck search it yourself. And I think that's it for now. Because heads they can attack, tails they can't. Heads they can. Charmander's knocked out. We'll put in... no, we know we can go Charmander, so we'll go here. Draw for turn. And Arven. Arven will let us search out an Ultra Ball. And a Pokemon tool, so we'll search out TM Evo. We can then Ultra Ball, Pidgeotto, TM Evo, and go into something like Pidgeot, if we can find it. Here it is. Rare Candy goes into Pidgeot. We've now got a search room board. We can Pidgeot into another Rare Candy. Now, what we've done is we've basically just gone, yeah, search out a searcher, go into the searcher and, you know, go back into the deck. So we can have Rare Candy, Charizard, and go 3 energy, 2 on Charizard, 1 on the Pidgeot. You don't have to, but, you know, I like to put an energy on Pidgeot. Okay, apparently those all want to go in our hand, do they? Sorry. There we go. You've now got a searcher, you've now got an attacker, and you can always Iono next turn if you need to get rid of it. Prime Catcher's pretty good. Maybe you Prime Catcher in Charizard, Pidgeot next turn. Let's see what we've got. Charmeleon. Iono. Shuffle to bottom of... Shuffle to... Okay. I'm on top of it today. I think it goes there. There we go. and draw 6. Then you can immediately retreat. Bam. Maybe you need to get rid of something. There goes Artisan. Very simple. This is difficult because it's hit or miss. We'll go here, and we'll go second this time. It's a very hit or miss deck. Start. Iono. We immediately have to Iono. There is nothing we can do here. Draw 6. Still, well, there's a buddy, which lets us put that to bench, and that to bench. Yeah. I should probably have slowed this down, but you get the concept. There we go, and next turn. In fact, if we go here, TM Evo, we can evolution for, let's say, well, we'll go Charmeleon and Pidgeotto. Here we are. Here we are. Shuffle, and we'll put that to discard. Bam! Now, maybe Charmander's knocked out. That's fine, because we can go, we'll put Pidgeotto in, draw for turn. That's not helpful, so we'll have to Iono again. That's the good thing about running 4 Iono. You have hand fixers. We just drew into 2 more. Okay. We'll Fire Energy that, and put Artisan up there, and Artisan for, we'll put another one of those on bench. That works. Even if we say that Charmeleon gets bossed, and then is forced to discard, we could put in another Pidgeotto, draw for turn. Ooh, that is interesting. I think we Iono here. Now, you could go Arven, and the smart move probably is Arven, but we want to get as much as possible, and see. We can Ultra Ball, Moltres. Moltres? You want to Ultra Ball here? To grab a Searcher, because that Searcher, you don't even have to Rare Candy. That Searcher lets you search things. That's how Searcher works. I've done a bad job explaining this, but the concept is you want to get your Charmanders and Pidgeys out early, and then evolve them up. Next up is you know, the more evolved decks, and I think that's something I can explain a lot easier. Okay, here we are with Charizard Dusknoir, actually. So, we'll start a new game. 0 mulligans. Heads first, tails second. Heads first. Okay. So, we draw for turn, and we want to get our Pokemon out quickly. So, we want to get our basics out quickly, specifically. So, we'll grab Charmander on bench, and let's say, so, what can we add? I think the only... well, there's another Pidgey, and we'll... if we have a Pidgey on bench, I think we should go with a second Charmander. And we're going first, so there's not much we can do. Our turn will end. Duskull, we'll put in Charmander, because we've got 2 of them. Start a new turn. Evolve, and Iono. I'm being visited by my very lovely cat. Hello? Trying to say hello to YouTube, are you? Right. Next up, I think we can Nest Ball here and go into Rotom V, which won't be available post-rotation, but it's fine. Why don't we say... I don't think we can add much more. In that case, Rotom V, draw 3, and pass turn. We'll say Charmander's knocked out again, yeah. Throw in... yeah, we can throw in Charmeleon. We can afford to do that, because if we draw for turn, and go into Arven maybe, we can add... what do we want specifically? Oh, there is. Okay, so we'll add an Ultra Ball, and let's say a Forest Sealstone. Ultra Ball, discard, let's say Buddy, and we can go Lumineon here. And we can add another Charizard, evolve into Charizard, and immediately go, say, yo, Fire Energies.
We could Forest... In fact, we should... If you think your opponent's playing a Lost Vacuum, maybe don't do this, but we'll Forest Seal. Okay. We'll Forest Seal onto the Rotom, just so that if we need it, it's there. And yeah, we can Burning Darkness. We then have Forest Seal, so maybe last time we don't draw a Pidgey. We can Arven and grab... Ooh, we can grab a Rare Candy and a Defiance Band. And then we can use the Forest Seal Stone and say, Forest Seal, grab Pidgeot. If we had drawn a Pidgeot there, that's why we kept onto Forest Seal, so that we could immediately say, yeah, no, I want to grab a Rare Candy with Forest Seal, rather than going for the Pidgeot. Which is why I didn't use it last turn, because what if we got Ionite? And now we have a Searcher online. A permanent Searcher. Forest Seal is like Pidgeot, but as I said, once per game. And we can grab... Let's grab this right now. Night Stretcher. And put that back on bench. Now, well, yeah, we've got... If we want next turn, maybe, we've got the Arven to search your rare candies. We've got Pidgeot EX to search your Dusknoir, and then we can immediately go Dusknoir for another prize. Charizard can attack this turn, can attack next turn, so your attacker. And if needs be, maybe you need to get rid of Neutralization Zone. Pidgeot EX. Blustery Wind, 120 and discard a Stadium. You've got it as a backup attacker. Maybe you can combine it with a Dusknoir to do 250. Yeah, it would be 250. 130 plus 120. There we go. We'll start a new game. And... first or second? Second. Cool. In that case, put Charmander on bench and Rotom on active. And yeah, we'll start our turn. We can Buddy and grab, let's say, Pidgey Duskull. We can Forest Seal. It keeps doing that today. I'm so good at this. Forest Seal, and we'll immediately use the V-Star, in case, because we want the Rotom to be knocked out. We'll grab... Ooh, let's grab Arven. No, let's not grab Arven. I think we should grab Pidgeot instead. And then Rotom V. Draw 3. Next turn, even if Rotom V is knocked out, we now can put Pidgey up. Arven grabs us Rare Candy. And... Zeroing up there is a Defiance Band. Rare Candy. Pidgeot searches maybe another Rare Candy. Ultra Ball. Going to Charizard EX. Bam, you've got an attacker, you've got your Searcher, and you've got Duskulls set up. Maybe if Duskull's knocked out, you go Thornton one turn and play it to get it back. Because, as we said, Thornton reads. Choose a basic Pokemon from your discard pile, switch it with one of your basic Pokemon in play, and any other effects remain. So yeah, even with 2 Charizards prized, we've still managed to get to Charizard, eventually. Where has it gone? I feel really stupid if we only run 2. We do only run 2, I think. Yes. Oh, that was a bad choice then, but you get the concept. If one of those Charizards was safe, there. Yeah. I've had to re-record this multiple times, so forgive me if it's rushed, but I think we should move on to Charizard Dragapult, because that is where I shine. Right, next up, start a new game. Charizard Dragapult. Ooh! So we know we have our Charizards, so we can start with Pidgey Dreepy, no matter what. Heads or tails? Heads, go first. I'll draw for turn. Buddy. Okay, put it there, it's fine. And we'll see that nothing is prized, which means I can immediately go Charmander and Dreepy. Maybe I should have gone Pidgey there, but I think grabbing that second Dreepy is incredibly helpful. Put a Fire Energy there. Pass. Heads they can attack, tails they can't attack. Heads they can attack, they'll knock out the Pidgey. We'll put in a Dreepy, see. draw, Psychic Energy there, and pass. They do that. We'll throw in a Charmander. Rare Candy. Bam. Okay. Whatever, we can Rare Candy the Charmander up. We can then attack. We'll start gaining prizes, maybe that, and ooh, another Iono. We'll grab Iono. Yeah. Next turn, maybe Iono. We don't need it. So we can grab top 6. I'm not going to bother putting it all to bottom because, yeah, we've got Dragapult, we've got an Arven to search, we've got a Forest Seal, we can evolve to Drakloak, etc., etc. Right. Sorry, I am rushing this. I feel really bad. New game. We'll play it out properly. Start with Dreepy. We'll go second. Draw for turn. Now, considering we've gone second, they're already going to start having set up. So, maybe you don't want to, but I think Dragapult Fire Energy, grab something like a Charmander, put it to bench. Dreepy's knocked out. Charmander goes up. Draw for turn. It's a very difficult thing to manage, really. Put one of those and one of those in discard and grab maybe a Lumineon, then put it onto bench. Lumineon grabs an Iono. Super Rod, we'll put it to bottom, but okay. Bottom to bottom to bottom. Shuffle. Iono. Shuffle to bottom. And draw 6. Can put a Dreepy down. Can put a Rotom down. Can use Rotom. Oh wow, whoa, want a Nest Ball first, won't you? Nest Ball into Dreepy, I guess. Fire Energy. Then draw 3. There we go. Then you can, you know, go Arven, Ultra Ball, etc., etc. Oh man, I do promise it was better the first time, but well, we'll go first this time. But obviously you wouldn't decide this before having drawn your hand, but theoretical test scenarios. So, Buddy Poffin, Dreepy Charmander. So you're getting your basic attackers on board, and just sort of trying to grab what you need. Nest Ball to thin the deck a bit more. Maybe your Pidgey's going to get knocked out, so we'll put another one to bench just in case. Rotom then draws you 3, and then ends your turn. We'll say Rotom isn't knocked out yet, so we'll start a new turn. We'll attach a Psychic Energy here, and I don't think we want to Nest Ball here, do we? So instead what we can do is just draw 3 and hope something doesn't go wrong. If nothing goes wrong, and well, we'll say Rotom's discarded, we can put Charmander up, draw for turn, Arven. We immediately going to want an Arven, because we want Rare Candy and a Pokemon Tool. Why are we grabbing these specifically? If I can find one. Grab that one. Well, the very useful Rare Candy means Charizard can go up. And the reason I like Dragapult Charizard so much is because Dragapult, specifically, can be powered up through one of your Fire Energies going onto the Dreepy, Drakloak or Dragapult. Love that. When Charizard goes live, it powers up your other attacker as well. Then we can say Fez, draw 3, maybe we'll Lost Vacuum, we'll say that's Lost Zone, Lost Vacuum the second Dreepy, and get rid of a tool maybe. Defiance Band on there, it will hit for 210. Bam. Wow, she is really desperate to have some attention, aren't you? You're clawing at my thing. She knows I'm doing something. Bam! Attacker. You've got Pidgeot EX. And, maybe you could have gone into Pidgeot EX and then gone into Charizard through searching out another rare candy. We've got all four. It's not as if they're prized, but ultimately it's up to however you want to sequence it. Maybe. I feel so bad about this. I've done it like twice already, and I just don't know, even if I leave that for a day or two, I'll still feel bad about having to redo it again. But here's the life of a YouTuber. So we'll say first or second. Second, this is a specific deck called post-rotation. As in, I've made a dumb Chandelure Dusk Noir Charizard build that doesn't do very well, just to say, yeah, this is what it could look like post-rotation. This won't be what Charizard looks like post-rotation, but it's a hypothetical. So, I say we go in second, draw for turn, buddy. We will bench a, I want to bench a Pidgey, and we're never going to use the Chandelure line, let's be honest, but bench those. And Nest Ball can bench, let's say, Fez. I mean, you could hold on to that Nest Ball until you know Charmander's knocked out, but it's dependent. We'll keep hold of all of this. We'll say head they can knock it out, tails they can't. Heads, Charmander's knocked out pretty early on, that's not good. But fine. Put in Pidgey, draw for turn. Buddy! Great, let's put in another Charmander. And another Charmander. And we can even, I don't know, evolve Dusclops. Maybe we're playing against Gardevoir. Knock it out and let's okay. That's shuffled it into deck, so I'm just gonna randomly get this one. Great, actually great. Fez draws us 3. We'll put down a Litwick, I guess, and put an energy here and pass. Can be knocked out, but that's fine because we'll put one here. Draw for turn. Lampent. Fire energy. We can Arven for a rare candy. We have lost the element of surprise of, let's say, supporters. Not supporters. Searching. We've lost the Pidgey. That's not an element of surprise, but whatever. Put one here. We've lost the Pidgey, which isn't great. Huh. That's interesting. You can power up Pheasantipity. You shouldn't. You really shouldn't. But, if you, let's say your opponent's starting out, maybe with a bunch of basics. Cruel Arrow does 100 to one of your opponent's Pokemon. Maybe there's a Charmander I mentioned you just snipe, and there's a Lumineon in the active. It's not the best, but it's like Moltres in the starter deck. I mean, not completely, not the similar attacks, but the concept of it's an attacker that's there doesn't mean it's the greatest. In fact, I don't think I went into Moltres once across all 3 takes for the League Battle deck, which tells you about how much you use it. However, there we go. You can now Cruel Arrow, or you could have gone into Charizard and attacked with Burning Darkness. Next turn, maybe you Iono. Shuffle to bottom and draw 5. There we go, setting up Pidgey again. Ultimately, I think your start can be very strong, especially if you go second with all your supporters, your Ionos, your Arvens, grabbing all the tools you need, literally and as in Poké Tools. And yeah, I think starting out strong, it's a good way to, build up your board with Pidgeys as a search engine, or Pidgeot as a search engine, Charizard as an attacker that powers other things up. And I have an apology to make to all of you, because this video could have been in more detail. As I said, I will evolve not only on this concept. Hi! Haha, she's back again. I will not only evolve on this concept, but evolve on how much detail I go into, because first video in a while, I want to get up the steps, I want to make sure I can get back into editing, make sure I can do all of this YouTube stuff again, and make sure I've got the, energy to consistently do it. So with that said, maybe no masterclass. I did say bad tone about the masterclass, because it's definitely not one, but this has gotten wordy. To anyone who's still listening, your word of the video is going to be bench, because I think if you all start commenting bench. And with that, have a good day, night, afternoon, or evening, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye!